Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective. Happy Oh, no, it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot. I didn't do a show yesterday. Um, it's Tuesday Thoughts. It's Tuesday Thoughts. I have to change that in the heading because I put Monday Thoughts. Whoa. See, this is why. For anybody wondering where I was yesterday, you know what? I did have some anxiety, but that's not why I didn't do the show. I think for me, in order for me to not become burned out like I did get for a while, and take all these unexpected, vacations from the show, I figured when there's a holiday, I'm going to utilize the holiday. If I go on vacation, I'm going to go on vacation. Maybe I'll post replays, maybe I'll just post stuff, but I figure in the mental health aspect of it, it's good for me to just kind of follow along with the schedule of holidays. So when there is a holiday, there will be no Aloha Perspective. When I'm on vacation, I might post stuff. Maybe I'll do a live from time to time, but there won't be any actual scheduled show. But there is a scheduled show today. So we have Tuesday through Thursday, or Tuesday through Friday. And I cannot get my days right, can I? I literally thought it was Monday. So anyways, good morning, Debbie Hall. I was wondering about what to finish up the month with when it came to mental health. And one of the things I think we forget is the mental health of kids, right? I mean, I think we just clump everybody into one big group and we just kind of whoosh. And so it's not that we forget about the kids and their mental health. I think it's just we figure, hey, you know what? Mental health has no age limit. It can affect anybody. So older sibling sent me an article this weekend. She's all like, hey, thought this might be good for your show. And it was from Yahoo News 360, and it was talking about whether or not kids should be kind of held back from social media until they're older. Now, the thing is, what is older? I mean, some of the examples they give that I'll read to you from the notes I made, just to get the facts right, was between like 13 and 17 for girls, some of them that were polled were 13 to 17. But in certain areas, it was 11 to 13 for girls and 14 to 15 for boys. So what is too young? And when we say wait, how long should we wait? Because here's the thing, you can tell your child not to do something, but they might do it anyway. They might find another way. And so I think when it comes to that, I think what really needs to happen is not just, I read the article, but I'm going to post it in here for you all to make your own opinions. And I admit I didn't read it all the way through because I was really tired last night. And I thought, you know what? Before I read the whole thing, I really just want to give my own opinion on this. I don't want to be influenced by it. I don't want to say whether or not I agree or disagree with the article. If I were a parent, knowing that you can tell your kids not to do something and they're going to do something. I mean, I remember when I was a teenager, one of my friends could drive. They had their own car, and granted, she was grounded at the time, but she knew where her father kept the key to the club, so she was able to unlock it. She was very fortunate that she got her same parking spot, because I am pretty sure her father would have noticed, because they lived in an apartment. But my mom said to me before I left that night, whatever you do, don't go gallivanting. Okay, which is, for anybody unfamiliar with the term, just don't go wandering out tonight. And my mom must have had that, that mom instinct, right? Because my friends are, hey, let's all get in the car and let's go down to the beach. It's like, okay, let's go. Yeah, there's like 5 of us, and off we went. And her fan belt broke. The fan belt broke. So we had to, in a very not so great neighborhood for a bunch of teenage girls. And so we walked to the trolley. I was able to cry our way on, because I was just like, oh my God, my mom told me blah, blah, blah. And then we get on, and the guy was nice. He let us on. We got off at my friend's house and walked up the hill, and we were able to call my friend's neighbor, who took us down there, was able to fix the fan belt and get the car home. But But this is the point. You can tell a child not to do something, but if they're really, really persistent, they're going to find a way, or they're going to be influenced by their friends. So they may tell you, yeah, I didn't do that. I mean, think about all the conversations we've had with our parents where we finally admit to stuff when we're older, right? Oh, yeah, remember that time you told me not to do this? And guess what? I did it. Well, this is kind of the same idea. I think there should be a dialogue on there. I know for one of my friends with their daughter, when she was coming around the age of, being a teenager, I'm not sure they were allowed to have a Facebook, but they were allowed to have an Instagram. However, mom and her were friends. Mom had to be friends with her to see, who was on there. She said, if anybody makes you uncomfortable, you tell me, we'll block them together. And so there was this really open dialogue. And I don't know if it affected her daughter the way it does some of these people, because this isn't, the percentage isn't 100%. So not everybody is. But the question is, where it was saying like 64% of adolescents say that, what about the other 36? So is the other 36 because the parents are having a dialogue with them and saying, hey, you know what? You can have this, but for now, because I want you to stay safe. This isn't like when I was a kid. And we could go play out, leave the house when the sun came up and come back when the sun went down. Or maybe in between to eat and have lunch. But we don't live in that world right now. Maybe in some places, but in a lot of places we don't. We don't live in that world where we can let children, not teenagers or adults, wander, unsupervised. Because, there are stupid people out there. There are nasty, rotten people out there. But they seem to have done okay. And it was mostly just them and their friends. And maybe, a celebrity or two they might want to follow. But I know that there was open dialogue. If something you see bothers you, like if somebody says something, we'll talk through it. And I think sometimes it's what we need to do. Okay, so this was the beginning of the article. It says, we are in the middle of a national youth mental health crisis. And I am concerned that social media is an important driver of that crisis. One thing is that we must urgently address. Sorry, can't read my own writing. So here's the thing. This is from the Surgeon General of the United States, and he says we are in the middle of a national youth mental health crisis. I'm not going to disagree with that. However, in my perspective and my opinion, I don't think this is anything new. When I was growing up, mental health was very stigmatized. When my parents were growing up, mental health was very stigmatized. When older sibling was growing up, mental health was very stigmatized. And it was also very misunderstood. And an older sibling could tell you her own story. I'm not sure, because I'm not a scientist, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counselor. I'm just sharing my opinion from a person who has struggled with their mental health since, as far as I know, my early teens. But it went unchecked because we didn't talk about it. So the question is the mental health crisis because of just social media? Or are the amount of kids that are having mental health issues because we're finally addressing it? We're not sweeping it under the rug. We're not telling our kids you got to be stronger. We're telling them, hey, you know what? Let me get you the help you need. So of course the numbers are going to rise, because people like me I don't have kids, but people like me who struggled with their mental health growing up and have kids can see the signs. They can say, hey, you know what? I don't want my kid to go through what I had to go through, because we didn't talk about it. So it's very, very possible that it's not just a youth mental health crisis. It's the fact that people are starting to see it. And it could be because of social media. But social media is basically online bullying sometimes. You may go to school and one person may not get bullied and you may. I got bullied all the time in school. But, I think the problem with social media is that I think, it can be a great tool for kids to learn. They learn about their identity. They learn about who they are. However, the flip side of that is, do they know who they are? Are they forming their identity? Or are they trying to live up to something that they think other people want them to live up to? Is there a certain figure? That's why I know a lot of people might feel weird about Lizzo and all that stuff, but I don't know a lot of her music, but I follow on her Instagram because I absolutely love how body positive she is. When I was a teenager, like I said, I was a rail. I was a stick. And I hated my body. I hated my body because of what had happened to me. And so I just, I was disgusted by myself. So body positivity doesn't need to discriminate on body size. Body positivity is absolutely loving yourself 100% or most of the time when you look in the mirror. I think the other problem with social media is that if kids go on, say, Twitter, or if they have an open Facebook page, and by open Facebook page, what I mean is my Facebook page is closed down to people I know. Okay, if you know me or you know someone I know, or we have lots of mutual friends, I will probably let you in, and I say probably because, it's like I may let you in and I may be like, who is this person? And then I might unfriend, not on purpose, but just because it's like, I don't really know who this person is. But most of the time I will say this, I vet my Facebook, and I vet my Facebook for a reason, because there are things I make public, like these shows and some mental health stuff, and sometimes an occasional picture or two. But the reason I close it down isn't because I want to be a snob and not let people in, or, it's because I don't need to show that I have 5,000 friends. Because I don't. I think in my friends, I think I'm at 307, which is, to me, fine. It's like, I look at that and it's like, holy crap, I know that many people, but, I may not have directly met them, but they are people who are within the wide circle that is Shelly Marie. And, I keep it closed for one, because I don't want my account to get hijacked. Because some people will say, oh, friend me. Since I hit my late 40s, there are all these people, oh, you're so beautiful, oh, you're so hot, oh, this and that. And you know what those are? They're catfishing because they want the money. And maybe that's not always the case, but you got to prove it. All right, you got to prove it. And so when I see these friend requests, what I do is I always look, how many friends do they have? Because a lot of times if they don't have very many friends and they don't have very many pictures, chances are someone has hijacked their thing, and what they want to do is hijack your Facebook. And so, no, that's one reason. The main reason is because I have to protect my mental health. There was a time when I had my Facebook open and I had friends and this and that early on. And some of them were just horrid. And it was just like some of the stuff they would say on my post. And that's why a lot of my posts are private, unless it's something like this. But I am in control of it, and I can delete comments that I think are completely inappropriate. But there was a lot of that. And I thought, you know what? So about maybe 10 or 12 years ago, I thought, that's it. I'm shutting it down. Only family and friends can come in, or acquaintances, the occasional acquaintance. But yeah, so like I said, sometimes I'll make stuff public, sometimes I won't. And going back to the body positivity, older sibling just reminded me of, we were talking the other day about cereals, and there was one that said, what was it, sibling? Was it Special K? Was that what the one you said? I think it was Special K. And in the 80s, I think it was, they had a commercial like, if you can pinch an inch, you need to eat this cereal. And it's just like, no wonder so many people are potentially overweight, because we stigmatize that. If you can pinch an inch, who cares? It means you just have a muscle that probably, maybe you're not walking around with like a 12-pack, attached to your torso, or a 6-pack attached to your torso. It means you're human. But the minute you tell somebody who might be like a size 5 that, and I was a size 5 because I have hips and broad shoulders. I'm freaking built like a linebacker, okay? Not because I'm heavy now. When I was younger, I have these broad shoulders and these hips. But the point is is even if you can pinch an inch, if you're a size 5, don't worry about it. Don't let someone shame you into buying. I mean, don't shame people into buying your products. If you can pinch an inch, you need to eat our cereal. Fuck you. Okay. That's all I got to say, because you are not promoting healthy. You're not promoting anything healthy. You're saying, here, you're fat, eat our cereal. That's not healthy. Because most obesity, and I'm not saying all, but in my case, mine's emotional eating. My weight comes from emotional eating because I couldn't get what was going on up here to work right. And so I fed this hole inside of me. And I put myself behind the 8 ball because now I need to lose weight for my own health. I mean, just my heart. Because, I knock on wood. I shit you not. Knock on wood. I am so grateful. I have low blood pressure, low cholesterol. I have, my blood sugar is right on that line, but it's still low. And, but if, for the most part, it's because I want to take care of my heart, where the scar is. And I've said that a million times, but I think the more we talk about these subjects, it's like, what are we feeding our youth? See, older sibling. I was a size 2 and I could pinch an inch, but that's my point. And it's like, she, I would say, has probably more confidence than I do. And we all struggle with our confidence. Her and I have had these conversations as well. But why do we stigmatize it? When we talk about being able to pinch an inch, it's like, or we make fun of people who might be overweight, or some overweight people might make fun of people who are skinny. And, everybody's story is their own. For the people who have had all this weight on, that have lost weight, hey, good for you. I know Debbie Hall. I've seen pictures of her from just a few years ago, and she got in shape. Her CRPS went into remission, and that's great. And she's inspiring. And the reason she's inspiring is because she's not judging other people. She's all, this was my journey. This is what I needed to do to get to a good place for me. That's what's inspiring. It's not telling people, hey, go out there and lose weight because you're fat. No, it's telling people, if this is because you are not feeling good in here, fix it. And it starts with the kids. When we put airbrushed pictures out on the wall, or out on the walls of Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, we're giving people an unhealthy and an insincere vision of who they can be. What we should be teaching kids is, you are perfect just the way you are. You are amazing just the way you are. People like Debbie, to me, are inspiring because, she doesn't judge people by what they look like. She helps people find their journey. She helps people find their path. She helps people on their road. Older sibling gets on me all the time because I'm so self-deprecating. It's not even funny. I mean, I think it is sometimes because some of the stuff I say is pretty clever, but it's me. But I'm sorry. My Robin came back. There she goes. So, she has a friend. It's still spring. But anyways, I digress. But yeah, she does get on me a lot for that. And I admit, when I was growing up, my mom really did control a lot of what I ate and what I could eat. And I mean, even as a teenager, I had to ask to have certain things. I think she gave up the ghost at one point, because in high school, everything's available to you, right? Like vending machines and all this stuff. And I don't blame her, because she wanted to make sure that my heart, stayed healthy. So she would keep me healthy. But the problem is, my mother was also an emotional eater. I think she was. I don't know for sure if that's what it was. She definitely loved food. And, so she fought with her weight. My entire life, she fought with her weight. And I say my entire life because I don't know how she was before that. Maybe getting pregnant with me and putting on weight it skewed her image of herself. I don't know. But whatever it is, I know that she was always trying to lose weight. She was always fighting with her weight. And then she'd get on me to do it, not out of anything other than, she was afraid because of my heart. My heart works great. My heart is functional. She's pounding away in there, doing fine, keeping me healthy. And I think, the reason I want to get healthy is because I want to keep that going. I don't want to wake up dead. Right? I know you're like, what? But I share this because I think a lot of it goes back to my childhood. I think a lot of it goes back to, my mom kept a lot of things from me and never really taught me how to make my own choices because she made them for me. Now, I'm not blaming her for my emotional eating. That was absolutely not her. In fact, I always thought it was my childhood trauma, but it wasn't that either. It happened after a breakup. Oh, no, I remember when it started. It started when I had a procedure done. And I don't want to trigger anyone, so today I'm not going to talk about it. But I've talked about it in the past. So if you know the procedure I had, then you know what I'm talking about. And I was so upset, and I was so sad, and I was so heartbroken that I ate for the first time to fill my void. And boy, it felt good to fill that hole with something totally bad for me. But I also realized in that moment, I think I was also punishing myself. And I think I've been punishing myself for far too long. Quite a long time. So when it comes to kids with social media, this is the stuff I'm talking about. Good morning, baby sibling. Welcome. But this is the stuff I'm talking about. So let me read some of the stuff that I wrote down. The advisory from the U.S. Surgeon General said, acknowledged that while it can be problematic, it can be useful in helping to create their self-identity as well as communication and forming social networks. So again, when it comes to kids with social media, I'm not really sure that I believe that it can, create identities. I think it might create identities in the wrong way. So what's happening here is we're placing a lot of the blame on social media, which is true. But I think what it is parents need to have the dialogue. I mentioned this earlier in the show. I think when you have a healthy dialogue with your child and you have a healthy dialogue as they navigate the social scene, because, I didn't even think about it, but, with baby sibling coming on, my nephews play, one of my nephews plays a game where they might interact with strangers. And I don't know if they do or not. I'm not there. They do go on YouTube a lot. And, all the stuff they see is monitored by their mom. And if something comes up, they talk to her about it. They have an open dialogue. And that's the stuff that I was talking about with my friend and their daughter when Instagram first kind of came onto the scene. She's plugged into everything her daughter was doing, all her friends and everything. And these are two good examples of parents monitoring what their kids are doing on social media, and, my nephews are great. Yeah, she says, yeah, all their games pretty much interact with strangers. So there you go. But they'll have a dialogue about it because, you could have a 35-year-old playing with an 11-year-old and they may not even know. So there might be smack talk, or there might be this, or there might be that, but an 11-year-old kid might take it the wrong way. And their feelings could get hurt. So this is why, she monitors all this stuff. This is why they have that open dialogue. This is why my friend and her daughter, when she first got on Instagram, had this open dialogue. Let's go through this. I think one of the main problems with social media is that people are so rude to one another on social media. They hide behind a screen. They will call you terrible names, and they don't know you, but they just automatically label you. And those are, way, way extreme people. And you don't find that all the time. But what if you're a kid and you do? I mean, as an adult, I've had this stuff happen to me and I now know. And it used to hurt me a lot. It used to send me spiraling sometimes, which is why I bought that container I told you guys about I can't remember the name of the show, but Baby Sibling was the one that showed it to me. And there's that container I'm always talking about where you can lock your stuff up. You can take the batteries out and it still won't matter. It won't matter. It will not open until the time is allotted. So if you pull the batteries out, you're just screwing yourself up because all you're doing is stopping the time. You're not opening it. You literally have to break it, break the acrylic to get into it. As a funny note, I don't just use it for my phone. I've actually locked up donuts in there. So I know. It's like one night I'm just like, oh my God. It's like I'm not hungry, but I know I really want to emotionally eat. And I was really sad for about 5 minutes because I'm just looking at the donuts going, I can't get into those until tomorrow. But after a while, it's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. So, but hey, you always got to inject humor. But I sometimes have to lock up my phone for that reason. Because sometimes I just want to engage. And I know that if I engage, all I'm doing is fueling. And that's exactly what they want. They just want to fight with someone. Maybe they're sad and maybe they're lonely. You know, these people that sit there and say horrible, mean, atrocious things to people may not be that mean at all on the other side. They may just be hurting. And instead of taking it out on people they know, like most of us do, they take it out on strangers because they figure, well, I'll never see them again. And I can block them if they want. Or I can do this, or I can do that. But the problem is when kids see this and they see people interacting, well, adults are doing it. Why can't I do it? And that's an extreme. Not all kids do that, right? But the Surgeon General says, you know, we need to get to Congress and we need to set restrictions and we need to do this and we need to do that. I personally think that, you know, if I were a parent and I had a kid that was about 13 or 14 saying, Mom, can I get onto Instagram or can I get onto Facebook? There would be rules. There would be rules. And I would really trust them and ask them, like, look, you have got to trust me that I have your best interest in mind. And, you know, they're teenagers. They're going to always do what they want to do, right? They'll probably set up a second account you don't know about. But that's when we have to recognize, you know, when you know your kid, you can feel their vibe. All right? Tell me any parent who doesn't come home and say, how was your day? Oh, great. Are you sure? Because there's something in them that might tingle. I know my mom and I had a weird connection. I mean, I would call her up sometimes and be like, are you feeling okay? And she's all, yeah, why? And I'm all, do you have a headache? And she's all, yeah, I'm getting one. How'd you know? And I'm like, because I can feel it. I know, it's weird. And same with my dad. But with my dad, I don't pry too much. It's like, are you sure you're okay? Yes, I'm fine. It's like, okay, but right there, that's the tell. Yes, I'm fine. And sometimes it's not as bad as we think. But I think because when we care about people, we worry. My dad does the same thing to me. Hey, you were on my mind today. How are you doing? Oh, I'm all right. Not feeling great. Because they know, they sense it. And sometimes that's what we have to do when we have kids. We have to sense it. You know, and like I said, I don't have my own children, but I know people who do. So, you know, I have two moms on here right now. Tell me it's not true. You know, convince me it's not true. So, oh yeah, Baby Siblings on. I am loving this. I wear this every day now because copper is so amazing. And it's so pretty. I finally figured out a better way to wear it though. So, but yeah, this was my birthday present from Baby Siblings. So I'm absolutely in love with it. And the boys. But one thing I want to reshare, and I talked about this probably about a year ago, so I don't know if the stats have changed or not. But they said that 2 out of 10 teenagers that were surveyed said that Instagram made them feel bad about themselves. Instagram made them potentially suicidal, potentially mental health stuff. And I know when I first talked about it, my first thought was, well, people are going to say, well, what's 2 out of 10 kids? Or 2 out of 10 people. Well, we'll just make it people, right? 2 out of 10 people. But in this case, it was teenagers. There's like 1 billion people, like literally around 1 billion people that use Instagram and social media in general. Okay, so if we were to spread that across the platforms, we'll say between Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, let's talk about how, you know, what if those 2 out of, 10 in a room of 1 billion people Think about that. You break that down, that's millions. Millions. So you're 2 out of 10, which you're thinking, oh, that's no big deal. It's 2 out of 10. You know, I mean, you do 1,000 kids, right? That's like 200 kids. Right? I think I did my math right on that. I don't know. If I didn't, it's close. But you know what I mean. The point is that you're just taking a group of 10 people. But what if that 2 is multiplied and multiplied and multiplied and multiplied? So you have 8 kids that are doing okay, who are say they're doing okay. If you want my personal opinion, I think 5 of them are doing okay on social media. 2 of them are feeling kind of shitty about it. And 3 are just kind of like, I don't know if I want to be honest about this or not. And those are the ones we really got to worry about. The ones who are afraid to be honest. You know, the ones who are afraid to come out and say how they're really feeling because they don't want to be judged. You have the 5 that are doing okay, the 2 that are extremely honest about their mental health, and you have the 3, right? And I'm just making up this number. But it's in my experience as a person who has struggled with mental health and has struggled to be very honest about it, that I would probably be one of those 3. I'd say, yeah, I'm all right. It's no big deal. Can I really say that social media doesn't hurt my feelings? Oh, fuck yeah, it hurts my feelings. Sometimes I hate going onto Twitter because, you know, you can see 5 million lovely things and one person being an asshole, you know, and it sucks. And I think the most important thing we can say, whether it's an adult or a child, don't engage. They're going to keep coming at you and they're going to keep coming at you and they're going to keep trying to bait you and goad you into fighting. Don't do it. Don't do it. Walk away. They have a function on Twitter where you can post your stuff, you can select who you want to comment. People might say, oh, they might retweet you and say, oh, you're a coward because, you know, you didn't want comments. No, I didn't want comments because I don't want to see your crap. This is my opinion. I'm allowed to have an opinion. You can have your opinion. I don't care. You do you. But don't step on my opinion because this is mine. This is me just saying, hey, I'm not putting it on your post. You know, or we can mute conversations. People are always going to try to bait us. And maybe it's to make themselves feel better. Maybe they're just cyberbullies. I would say 9 times out of 10 they're cyberbullies. They're just people trying to feel better about themselves or just, you know, so narcissistic they love being an asshole and, you know, they've just found their platform to feed off of. Right? I mean, they feed off of negativity. That's their jam. And we can feed them or we can starve them. It's up to us. I've engaged. I've said what I had to say. But when I have to start defending myself and I have to start defending my opinion, I literally will mute things. So now, I'll be honest with you. Because of this, I'm not completely true to myself. I don't always post things I want to post. I don't always share things I want to share. Because I don't want to fight with people. So that's a choice I've had to make. But how fair is that to us? How fair is it that we have to hold back our opinions, you know, or how we feel because we're afraid of being attacked? I mean, my feed is my feed. If you follow me, okay. If somebody randomly sees it because you follow me, okay. That doesn't give you permission to attack me. And I say that because, you know, maybe in the early days of Twitter, I've been on Twitter since 2009. So I can't tell you what I was doing 14, even 10 years ago. But I know that in the last 5 years, I've changed. You know, I'm not as, you know, itching to be combative with someone because I'm feeling horrible about myself. I didn't pick the fights, but I didn't end them either. You know, sometimes I would. You know, when they start getting really, I can't tell you, you know, I've been called the C word. I say the C word for, you know, the ears out there that don't want to hear it. I don't have a problem with the word, but I've been called one 3 times by people who didn't even know me. And like I said, 2 of those times I was defending other people. 1 time was on Twitter because I was defending my opinion. And the minute that happened, I'm like, you know what? I'm muting this conversation because this person doesn't want to have an adult conversation or even a discussion. They just want to be an asshole. And the funny thing is, though, both times I got called that, I just looked at them and I laughed and I'm all, it's cute how you think that hurts. It doesn't. I watch a lot of British shows. Come on, seriously? I mean, I've been to England. No censorship there. And the word doesn't bother me. I think we give power to words, and we shouldn't give power to words. Because when we give power to words, that's when they hurt us. Is it appropriate? Probably not. Is it offensive? Probably. But when we allow it to hurt us, that's when we give it power. I will say, though, at Comic-Con, when some douchebag called me that, whoa, you should have seen older sibling go into action. I'm sorry, it was just so funny. It didn't bother me, but let me just say, I know I was in the right, because the minute the head of Comic-Con came down and asked what happened, older sibling's like, well, he called her, and you whispered it. And he's all, what? He's all, what? So you know what? It may be an offensive word. It doesn't bother me, but boy, it holds power, because that guy got kicked out. So not out of Comic-Con, but out of the space. So he was trying to pick a fight with the girl behind me that, when you go to Comic-Con, sometimes you're hunkered down in the same space for so long, you make friends with everyone around you. And even if we're just friends for a day, I will have your back. I will have your back. And I'm grateful that for me, older sibling had mine. So, because I didn't even think about saying that. That's one of the problems with the word not bothering me. It didn't even occur to me to say anything. But here's the thing. This is an adult. This was an adult. This wasn't a teenager. This wasn't a kid. So it's the dialogue we need to open. Social media is going to be there. Whether, yeah, that's right. Older sibling says he wasn't going to do anything until I told him that. And they weren't. He and security were not going to do anything until then. And we were trying to explain the whole situation, and I was getting excited, so they told me to just relax. And it's like, okay. But that's when I just let older sibling, have the conversation with them. And then she told them, then it was just like, wait, what? So it's like, I wasn't trying to get anyone into trouble. I was trying to, just as a little backstory, so you don't think I'm an asshole. This guy was sitting up front with his wife, who was sitting next to me on her game, playing her game the whole time. She could have cared less what was happening at Comic-Con. This guy was complaining because the girl behind me had been missing for a while, and he wanted her kicked out. And the problem is the girl had anxiety. Okay, so she couldn't always be in a closed, dark space, because at Comic-Con, once the panels come on, the lights go off. So the only light you really have are just sporadic lights here and there. But the big bright lights aren't on. And she just needed some air, okay? Because, they've been over there, they slept out overnight, all this stuff. And so he starts fighting with her friends who were sitting. So basically, sibling and I are right in the middle of all this, because he's fighting with them. They're telling him. And finally, I told the guy, I said, look, she just stepped out, okay? She had to get food. She had to go to the restroom. Well, she's been gone for like an hour. I'm like, these things take time. You can't help it. And it's like, have you seen the lines out there? Clearly not. And so I really don't know where she went, but I know that she was coming back. All right. So he was trying to get her kicked out so that his son, who was sitting in the back, could come up and sit there and be close. I just kept thinking, and I even told him, I said, why don't you have your wife switch seats with your son? Because she's just playing games. And I don't think she would mind. I looked at her and she was quiet. I think she was afraid to say anything, because this guy had a pretty powerful personality. And I'm not saying anything beyond that. I just think she was one of the quieter people that just figures, I don't want to say anything because it's not worth it. But that was my solution. Why don't you just have them switch seats? No, I want my whole family here with me. Well, this guy came in like just an hour and a half before. Okay, because, in between actually during panels, you can come in. But we'd been there, like sibling and I had been there since 5 a.m. These girls slept out overnight. And we're like, no. Okay, I'm all for people coming in, but when you start dictating who sits where, no. Now, I can almost guarantee you, because next thing I know, I see this guy and he's on Twitter. So that's where I'm tying this into. He was on his phone, social media, all this stuff. And it's just like, this is what I'm talking about. People are always going to give their own opinion on Twitter. People are always going to give their own opinion on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. They're always going to say things that we may not agree with. And it's up to us to be clever enough to move on. I mean, if you're itching for a fight, can't stop you there. But just think about the repercussions, because remember, you pick a fight with somebody, this shit's on Twitter forever, or on social media forever. It's on the internet. You can delete it. How many times have we seen where somebody on Twitter posts something, right? And then they immediately delete it, but somebody's already screenshot it. Right? Somebody's already screenshot and said, yeah, well, this is what they said before they deleted it. That's why I said, I have no idea the things I may have written way back when. But I know in the last 5 years, my healing journey has taken me to a whole better place mentally. And I'm in a new place now. I'm in a different place now. And, you know, I'm in the place now where I'm a little more comfortable with who I am. I'm able to walk away from people trying to goad me into a online war or battle or skirmish, depending on the severity of the topic. And, you know, I'm just in the place now where it's like being baited is dumb. I try to stick to positive stuff. I try to make people laugh. I try to fill my feed with more of the positive things. I couldn't tell you what you'd find even 10 years ago or 8 years ago or 6 years ago. I couldn't. Maybe I was an asshole. Maybe I said stupid things, which is very possible. I do know people can change. And that's the glory of life, is that we can change. But when it comes to the mental health of children, that's a dialogue that needs to be had between a parent and a child, or parents and a child, or children. You know, we have to be open. So like I said, I'm not sure that the youth mental health crisis is because, you know, so many kids have depression nowadays. I think it's because so many kids have acknowledged, and their families have acknowledged, that they have depression. And again, this is just my perspective. You know, if you go back through my generation, I'm Generation X. If you go back through my generation and, you know, you say, I mean, the memes that are out there, right? The memes that are out there between the baby boomers and the Gen Xers, it's like, yeah, one of them I posted said, one day I died for 5 minutes and my mom told me to walk it off. I'm not kidding. That's what it said. But it was kind of like that. It was just like, you know, when we would get hurt as a kid, walk it off, kid. Walk it off. You're going to be fine. Or if we were having a sad day, you know, were you going to cry about it all day? Or are you just going to, you know, suck it up and get back into life? Right? But well, sometimes it's not a bad thing. But sometimes it might be more. It might be more than just falling down and scraping our knee, or you know, the little schoolyard bullying us. And our parents saying, hey, you know what? Just don't take it. Stand up to them. Do whatever. I never told my parents that I was bullied as a kid, because I had already been suffering enough trauma. And I never told them about that either. I was like a child full of secrets. I was like Fort Knox when I was growing up. I had all these secrets, and they built and built and built, and, you know, into my teens, you know, and eventually it got to the point where it was like a balloon that's blown up as far as it can be blown. And all you have to do is even just put a sharp nail, like your own fingernail, against it, and it'll pop. That's where I was. And when I came clean about, you know, well, I didn't understand depression because we didn't talk about it. In fact, I never even really gave it a thought. I always thought what everybody else thought, you know, mental wards, like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and all that stuff. That's what that meant to me. Because I didn't know. But it turns out all this time I'd been suffering from depression. And it was going so unchecked. So the question is, if we go back generations, how many people can we say give these tests to? And, you know, I don't think anyone could really answer honestly anymore. I mean, our youth was so far behind us now. But I think because we are the children of, or the parents of, you know, people who didn't understand it, who as adults started to understand their mental health, as adults started to pay attention to their mental health. I think because of that, the children have a better focus on it now. And now we're addressing it. We're addressing it so that their generation of kids, you know, may not have, the numbers may not be as high because they're getting the help they need now. And I'm not going to lie. Every generation has its own traumas growing up, and I don't mean traumas like, like the stuff I had went through or other people have gone through like me. I mean, we all have our own little like, oh my God, it's so hard being a kid nowadays. I shit you not, man. It is so hard, I think, being a kid nowadays. We didn't have to navigate social media. Our bullies were in our face. They weren't hiding behind a keyboard. If you were going to get bullied, it was going to be face to face. And sometimes it still happens, but now people can, cyberbullies. How many kids have we heard that have taken their own lives because they were cyberbullied? Because somebody on the other side of the screen thought it would be funny to pick on them, to catfish them, to be their friend, and then all of a sudden pull the movie Carrie on them, right? Or what is that movie, Never Been Kissed, where they just kind of punk everybody and prank everybody? I don't understand why kids do that. I don't understand why they have to be mean. Is it because their friends are being mean? I will say this. Kudos to the kids who stand up to their friends when they're bullying somebody else. Because that might get them shunned, but sometimes I think they break through and say, how would you like if somebody did this to you? Or, on another hand, when I was being bullied by someone in 5th grade, and it was mean. They pulled my chair out from underneath me as I was about to sit. They pushed me around for absolutely no reason. I don't know what it was all about. There's just this one girl who was a little bigger than me, and finally one of my friends that I'd been in school with since kindergarten, she finally came up one day after they pulled the chair out from under, and it hurt. It hurt when I fell because it was in a classroom on the floor. And I was just kind of getting up, and I think even though it hurt physically, I think it was more humiliating than anything else. My friend just stood up while everybody was laughing, and she just looked at the girl and says, you know what? If you keep bothering her, you and I are going to have a problem. I'm not sure those are the words she used, but my friend stood up for me. And for the most part, it seemed to stop. But I was surprised. And the sad thing is one of my friends who kept saying, oh yeah, we'll be best friends. She was new in the school too. She would always stick up with the bully. But the minute, my friend stood up to the bully for me, the other person that said they were my friend, that would actually grow to be my friend for quite a few years after, was like, oh yeah, she pretends like she's going to help me up. And my friend just looked at her and says, no, you were part of this. And my friend helped me up that I've been since kindergarten with. And I thought, you know what? Thank you for being that brave person. We have to advocate for others. We have to be better for other people. We have to set examples for the kids, for the youth. I don't want my nephews getting picked on. I don't want my nephews getting bullied. Sometimes when an older sibling tells me that stuff is going down at school, it's just like, who do I need to beat up? I'm not going to take on a 10-year-old, all right? But you feel this in your heart, like with her too. You get all these emotions that come up from what you had to deal with when you were a kid and the jerky people around you. And you're an adult now, so you know how to handle things better. You know how to move through it better. My mom was bullied when she was a kid. This kid used to always pull her pigtails and push her and hit her. She went home, she told my grandfather. My grandfather taught her how to fight. Like literally, box. That kid did it again, she popped him in the nose. I'm not saying violence is the way to settle things, but I'll tell you this. My aunt told me later. Actually, my aunt told me not that long ago, so my mom has been gone for a while now. And my aunt said, oh yeah, she's all, your mommy, whenever somebody go pick on her, she would hold my jacket. That's what she said. She would say, here, hold my jacket. Because my mom had the tools now. My mom was also very strong, but very strong-willed. But I was just like, damn. It's like she popped him in the nose. And then I find out she was like going around and popping other kids who were picking on other kids. My mom was like the schoolyard superhero. But she didn't want to be picked on anymore. And so she found a solution. Now, like I said, I'm not saying that's the solution. But pay attention to your children's mental health. Okay. They may not have depression. They may not have anxiety. They may not have any of these things, but they may have something going on because, like I said, being a kid nowadays, I truly do believe is so much harder than we were kids because they have so much more they have to deal with. You know, I mean, politics, no. Religion, no. Those have been around since all of us were, you know, since way before all of us. And those are the things we've always had to deal with. But we have cyberbullying now. We have people that will just try to, you know, goad you or bait you into a fight online. So when it comes to social media, you know, monitor their social media. Tell them, look, I'm not trying to be a helicopter parent. I'm just trying to keep you safe. And, you know, just tell them, look, if you have a fake account out there that I don't know about and something happens on there, please don't be afraid to tell me. And do it without judgment, okay? I remember when I was in high school, on a side note, we had to sign an agreement, right? We were students against drunk driving. And we had to sign an agreement that if we ever drank or we were ever drunk, that we could call our parents without a conversation at the moment, have a conversation when everybody's calmed down and everybody's cooled off, like the next day or the following day. And we had this agreement and we signed it and everything. And I never had to use it, but I know it's such a square when I was a kid, but I never had to use it. But I think it's helpful because, you know, it gives the child a safe space to figure out who they are. But it also gives the parent time enough to just take a step back, take a deep breath and say, hey, let's have an adult conversation about this. Okay, or let's have a conversation about this. So I think it's good to open that dialogue with your children to say, look, if there's anything that's bothering with you, please come to me and we'll work through it together, without any judgment. It's scary, some of the things that we've had to go through, period, any of us when we're young. And we're afraid to talk to people because we're afraid to be judged. We're afraid to be, bullied, or we're afraid that, it's going to piss somebody off. So come to the table as someone that would judge it. Older sibling has her new thing right now when she goes to sleep has been Bridge of Spies. And she reminded me, one of my favorite things that Abel says is two things, actually. He has two different sayings for basically the same thing. Would it help or would it matter? So would it help if your child comes to you and you react to it with judgment? Probably not. Would it matter to them? Yes, it would, because they would probably not come to you again or be afraid to come to you. But if you take the time to just take a deep breath, relax, calm down. I know nobody likes that. Calm down. Just take a deep breath and talk to them about it. I think when a child opens up to their parent, you should be grateful that they trust you. You should be grateful that they're open enough with you. I love my parents. I trust them, but I was afraid for my own things. But I have open dialogue about things, that used to bother me or stuff that has happened. And my dad and I have had some really good conversations. Some really good conversations. I mean, and he's been honest with me about his feelings. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you just go to your mother? And we've talked about those things, and believe it or not, I have apologized. And people, why are you apologizing for it? Because I should have gone to him. I have two parents, not one. But I think, I don't know. There were a lot of different things that ran through my head at the time, and sometimes we get scared. I mean, I'm 50 years old, and it wasn't until the last 2 years that my father ever knew that I had 3 near attempts of suicide, 3 near suicide attempts. The first one being when I was 15. I know I'm not smiling because of that, but I'm just saying, so we have to have open dialogue. And I knew I would have been safe if I talked to my dad. I knew it probably would have been safe if I talked to my mom. My mom sometimes could meet things with judgment and, well, let's pray on it, and it's like sometimes I didn't want to just pray on it. I needed her to talk to me. And my dad and I have always had an open relationship, and we've always been able to talk to one another. So why I didn't go to him, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think when it came to my depression, I was so judged by my mom because of her own fears. And I don't blame her. I feel bad throwing her under the bus, but I think it's very important for me to share that aspect of our relationship because I don't want other people to go through it. But I think because of that, because I felt so ashamed afterwards, that I was afraid that I would get the same reaction from my dad, and I should have known better. And I'm not saying one parent is better than the other. My parents loved me equally. I loved them equally. We were three peas in a pod. We really were. But we weren't perfect. We were perfectly imperfect. And, so now my dad and I have these conversations, and I validate his feelings because I can understand why he feels the way he feels, and we're working through it. But listen to your kids. Okay. I don't care how old they are. If you're 80 and your kid is 50, listen to him. My dad's not 80. I'm just saying, this is just an example. If you're 90 and your kid is 60, just listen to them, because sometimes you are always going to be their parent and they are always going to be your child. And there may be times when, even at an advanced age, they may just say, all these things. Just give them reassurance. Listen to them. Sometimes the best thing we can do for anybody is just to listen. Okay? So, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. I went in every direction, didn't I? I shared a meme with older sibling last week, and it says, storytellers, right? And it just had this one train track. And then it says me telling a story, and it had these tracks going everywhere. So I told her, I said, I redid it. And I said, most podcasts, and with that straight train track. And then I said, my podcasts and my lives. And it had, it was like a rail yard where there's trains going in train tracks going in every direction. I'm all, that's me. I don't know how to stay on one line. I kind of venture in every direction, but, I think that's just kind of the special herbs and spices in my show now. It's just, what she starts here. Where's she gonna go in the middle before she comes back to that, before she circles back. So, I used to feel bad about that, and I used to apologize for it, but now I realize that's just my special brand of me. So, anyways, again, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Whether you're a youth or whether you're an adult or whether you're an advanced adult, please pay careful attention to your mental health. It doesn't, you can be 99 years old, and if you need to see a therapist, see a therapist. If, you have a kid that you think might need to see a therapist, you can do it in home if they're too embarrassed to go. But talk to them. Don't just throw them into therapy, okay? Talk to them. And if what you're saying isn't helping them, just suggest to them, hey, you know what? And you can even do it together. Let's do this. And they might get comfortable enough where they become comfortable with their therapist that they're able to open up. And don't be threatened if a child opens up to the therapist about something they haven't opened up to you. Sometimes things are so embarrassing in our minds, or so shameful in our minds, or may seem so trivial. They might think it seems trivial to someone else, but it's a big deal to them. That, just be grateful they're opening up to somebody and that they're getting this help. Like I said, sometimes the best way we can help the people we love is just to be there for them, to give them what they need. And sometimes it's just a shoulder and a hug. And letting them know that, they're safe and that they're going to be okay. All right. So I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Please, please, please take care of you, your mental health. Tomorrow's Self-Care Wednesday. I was like, I literally have no subject for tomorrow, but it's okay because tomorrow's Self-Care Wednesday and I have a deck of cards for that. So we'll just focus on that tomorrow. Okay. This was a pretty heavy subject today. So, again, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Please, please, please take care of yourselves. I'll be back here tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, Facebook Live. All lives are public under Shelly Marie Lucas. I also share it to my Facebook page, the Aloha Perspective, and my YouTube page, the Aloha Perspective, and to Twitter, to both of my accounts. So, again, have a great, great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. And, again, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day.